Hi, I'm an artist and the people has spoken. Today we will do a painting with only human brushes. So for anyone who doesn't know, in my last video I did a painting challenge that I had to change brushes after every 5 minutes. And by some miracles, the first one and the last one I pulled was both human brushes. So because of that, some of you guys had suggested the only logical thing to do next was doing another challenge, but with only the human brushes. Then I did a poll and the result was overwhelmingly hell yeah, even though I myself had tried to vote no on my own account. But anyway, that was basically why we are doing this challenge for today's video. And with that out of the way, here's a few words about how we will conduct the challenge. First, the brushes I'm allowed to use are these 4 human brushes from the Essential Detail Pack by Fizzy Flower. As always, I will leave the link down below in the description box. And second, I'm not allowed to do any modification with them, which in hindsight maybe I should. And finally, as you can see here, we could do the challenge with this glass of lemonade, which in hindsight maybe I shouldn't. But anyway, those are the rules we will have to follow for today's video. And now, let's start with the challenge itself. And well, even though I know we have decided to do this, I still have to admit that this challenge intimidated me more than I expected. So much so that before the actual challenge, I sank several days of my life trying to muster up the courage just to start. And by reading shonen manga, those are good for cheering you on. And I mean, it is something pretty understandable, right? Like painting only using something like this, it is quite intimidating, And then finally, the day I actually sat down to do this, I spent 25 minutes sketching, blocking in the shape, and do all the usual stuff. And I produced garbage, total utter trash. Like everything looked so bad and confusing, I couldn't really even see what was going on the canvas. If I squint real hard, maybe I could see the ghost of a lemonade glass in there, but that's about it. And needless to say, this crushed my spirit so hard that I sank that evening and the next day reading shoujo manga in the hope of trying to soothe my fragile spirit. And anyway, this was to say that I might be quite dramatic writing and delivering this script, maybe even more than usual. Those manga reading is starting to get into my head and I'm sure it will show somehow. So apologize in advance if you don't like dramatic stuff. Yeah, sorry. Anyway, don't worry though, I didn't give up. I came back and decided to start small first. And it was time to try rendering half of the lemon over here. Like this was something simple enough, should be able to boost my spirit back up, I hope. Meanwhile, let's talk about how past me kinda set myself up for failure by choosing this glass of lemonade for this challenge. Why, you ask? Well, as you can see, the human brushes look like this. They all have a lot of irregular edges, which was why it looked really good for texturing fluffy things like clouds and stuff. So at first, I thought about painting something like misty landscape or something like that, like a scene with a ton of trees and bushes to take advantage of the rough edges we have over here. But then I came across this lemonade and thought, it has been quite a while since the last time I painted glass. Why don't we paint one this time? And the problem with us is that the glass is smooth, and as I just said, the human brushes are rough. They are not something compatible with each other, and trying to force them to be together is just a beautiful recipe for disaster. So why stupid me still went with this decision of the lemonade? Well, it was because stupid and arrogant me thought, wasn't it gonna be really impressive if I could pull this off? Like, ooh, look at that thumbnail. Isn't it good? Isn't it impressive? Shouldn't you get... Well, sorry for being a little bit too transparent about my grit. Yeah, sorry. Anyway, I spent about 10 minutes or so on the lemon half, and to be honest, my confidence level didn't go up at all. On the contrary, it made me feel even more confused, because now instead of a bunch of mosaic bits, there was a pretty well-defined piece of lemon beside a bunch of mosaic bits. which didn't have too much with my confidence level. But it was too late at this point. I couldn't abandon this glass laminate to go with something else. I needed to see how this one was gonna develop until the very end. So in order to make my life a little bit easier, I decided to pick colors straight up from the reference, something I usually don't do because I want to train my color picking skill. But today, since this thing had been beating me up quite bad so far, admittedly, reluctantly so, I decided that I didn't really need the extra burden of picking my own colors anymore. Let's pick them straight up from the reference. It should make my life a little bit easier, I hope. And it did, kind of. Well, as you can see here, I started to render the glass itself. And while the process had been a little bit smoother than before, I realized I couldn't really look at the big canvas and tell what was going on there. Like, I didn't know where the glass started and where it ended. I couldn't really tell if the glass was symmetrical or not, because I couldn't really even see the shape very well. Everything just kinda blended into each other. And in hindsight, I think the biggest problem here was that my value wasn't clear enough. Like, my light colors was really light while my dark color wasn't dark enough. So that's why they kinda became a blob like that. But at the time, I put the blame on the human brushes because their texture was way too distinct, way too distracting, and way too easy to recognize, especially when you are also another fellow human being. You know, we are very good at recognizing human-related things, yeah. And in this painting at this stage, all you could really focus on was like, oh, that's a human, that's another human, oh, and more human, everything human. But not on the actual shape of the glass, which was the thing I had to focus on the most over here. So to counter that effect, I realized I had to look at the mini view, the overview window over here a lot. Like a lot. I think it was because everything was so small there, it was actually easier to see the shape and how everything was coming together than looking at the big canvas. So thank you so much, Overview Docker. This challenge only became a possibility because there was you. Without you, there was no way I could do this. Sincerely, thanks. Deep gratitude from Link. Anyway, with the help of Overview Docker, things started to go pretty smoothly. But for some reason, I find the fact that this painting was made using millions of human shape stamps weirdly disturbing. Like, just looking at them, focusing on them, thinking about them for a little bit too long, it started to make my skin crawling. Like, even now when I'm writing this script and saying this, thinking about that fact still makes me feel rather chilly on my back. But it's kinda reasonable though, you know? Like, at first glance, you look at this and be like, oh nice, a glass laminate. But then when you look closer and closer, you started to realize tons of familiar shapes in there. Like, they were placed down one after another. Some were light, some were dark, some were in full, some were half erased. But they were all the silhouette what you and I were very familiar with. They were all once human. Wait, is this like a title game or something like that? Yeah, I think so. Anyway, I was still trying my best until the upper half of the glass, and after that I think my brain started to slip away, yeah? So the shape of the glass turned out to be way chubbier than the reference. And also some places, the glass was looking like it was floating above a piece of cloth or something rather than actually on top of that. And also the lower half of the glass followed quite a style of impressionism, but that's okay. It was good enough. I couldn't really ask for more than that. My brain was having enough. And with that, I think the glass of lemonade made of human was done. Let's check out the result, shall we? And that title sounded a lot bloodier than I expected, but that's okay. So that was the human brushes challenge, which was quite a mental roller coaster that I didn't really enjoy, but I'm glad it's over. Yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy it somehow though. Anyway, for some news, The February wallpaper will be live in a few days after this video goes up, and I also decided to open a YouTube membership in order to make more payment methods available. And the contents for the membership and Ko-fi are still the same though, so in case you want to support me financially, either one of them is fine. And anyway, as always, thanks a lot for watching. Hope you have a great day/night ahead, and see you later.